welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the show in which I find out what very cryptic titles mean, hopefully. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Hello, everyone. Yes, welcome once again to Saturday. Synchronous Saturday. I don't know what I'm saying. Oh boy, it's been a week. It has been a week. Every week is a week. And we're here again to learn something, presumably. Something that I can't quite decipher out of the title, which is mainly why I chose it. We'll get into that in a moment, because who is here to join me on this wonderful exploration of education and wonderment? Why, that would be the Misera. Hello. Keeverdam. Hello. Matt Barnes. Hello. Mike R. Hello. No Room for Squares. Hello. Black Belt for Christ. Hello. Some Num Nation. Hello. Check Your Logic. Hello. Advocatus Diaboli. Hello. Quinn the Cultist. Hello. Dina B. Hello. Brian Wilson. Good day. Wade Willison. Hello. Old Guy Gamer. Hello. God of Plague. Hello. And then chat jump, because of course it does. Virur of Ashmedai, hello. A Scanner Daftly, hello. Zalbra, hello. Spider-Man, hello. Crimson Tiger, hello. NC Metal, hello. Greg Levison, hello. Get that right. This is Kyle, thank you so much. Hello, chat people and scribbles. Hello, Kyle. Spittlebuggies, hello. Chicago Mike, hello. Iverson Gatorix, hello. Sabian187, hello. Mirai Vegeta, hello. So, what is today's subject? Well, I have no honest idea. It's one of those ones where it's like I'm reading the title and like, what is it that they're trying to tell me here? Because it sounds so, I don't know, full of itself. Might be one way of looking at it. So, what are we doing here? Sorry, I got the wrong tab open. Building critical consciousness for educational equity. Building critical consciousness for educational equity. What does that mean? I don't know. Critical consciousness, educational equity. Well, equity, as we have come to learn, means equality of outcome. Like, all right. Critical consciousness. I can't help but think of critical theory of various kinds when thinking about that. And consciousness, well, isn't that being awake? So wokeness for educational outcome equality. I guess we'll find out. But be sure to have your bingo cards ready, guys. I have a feeling we might just hit a bingo on this one. Link is in the description for that. Mr. E says the title alone is word salad. Yeah, I am inclined to agree. If she doesn't hit word salad in her content by the end of this, the title alone, I will circle that square. But no, don't do that, computer. No, I don't want to close that. I want to start the video. So, per usual, guys, because live TV, I'm the most professional person you've ever seen. I'll start off with a few seconds. For sound test, you guys tell me if you can hear this, and then we will begin.
So to start off, I think it's really important that we think about, what does equity mean?
I am in complete agreement with you. I love it when people define their terms, because otherwise I'm just playing a guessing game the entire time. And the only game I really want to play is bingo. I don't want to have to guess. So I'm looking forward to finding out what she means by equity. Thank you, tall person. Happy National Pasta Day, everybody. National Pasta Day. Well, Gamer Valine is the Lord of Pasta, so it's kind of her day. So if she happens to show up or you see her in the future, tell her that today was her day. That'll be nice. All right. But yes, equity. She already said equity, circling it on the board, and free space. So we're already 2 squares up, guys, and we're only 5 seconds in. This is going to be a ride.
We do a lot of comparisons, equality and equity. And I do this in my own workshops. I have people think about, what are the differences? Equality means giving everyone the same thing. Equity means giving people what they need.
No. that's not actually it, and that's not actually how they're used. But I suppose you could extrapolate from that equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome, kind of, but you're still making up new definitions for words. Thank you, Corey Suzuki. Oh no, her voice is annoying. Her voice is not helped by some of the audio quality from the recording. I did my best to clean it up and dull it a little bit so it wasn't as grating, because some of that is the audio quality of the equipment, but I can only do so much. So this is the best I could do. All right. So yeah, equality is everybody gets the, what was it again? Sorry, I want to make sure I didn't misunderstand her.
I do this in my own workshops. I have people think about what are the differences. Equality means giving everyone the same thing.
Equality means giving everyone the same thing.
Equity means giving people what they need.
And who determines what they need? What if someone's selfish? What if they argue to you that they need more than someone else just because they're them? Is that equity? Is that fair?
But I think we miss the mark if we don't take the opportunity to talk about why that need exists.
Okay.
And that need exists because we operate within a system that is inequitable.
Oh, a system. Well, systemic institutional, circle in that one. Oh boy. A system that is inequitable. Tell me about this system. What system do you speak of?
We operate within a society that is inequitable.
A system that's inequitable, a society that's inequitable. All right. In what way? Where? How? What system?
Oppression exists.
Yes, I agree. Oppression exists. In what fashion?
And so when we know that and we think about why that need is...
No. When we know that, no, you've made a claim. You need to back it up with something. We can't just know it because you said it. 35 seconds in, and I'm getting ready to circle leaves out vital context.
That need is there because there are people in this society, there are groups in this society who receive privilege based on identity, and then there are those who are marginalized based on aspects of their identity.
Marginalized or marginalization, circling that on the card. And privilege, also circling that on the card. Boy, oh boy, guys, we are off to the races. No pun intended.
So I think that's the first thing that we need to be really clear about. It's not a lacking on any part or any group, right?
Right. It's not a lacking. Wait, you said certain groups, and I'm assuming she means demographics, but certain groups have privileges and others don't. If some have and some don't, then some groups do lack, don't they? Am I already going to have to circle contradict's own point or argument in the first minute?
It's about the lack of equity in our society.
How so? Okay, I'll give her an opportunity because this is just the opening salvo, let's say. I won't circle leaves out vital context quite yet. I won't say she's contradicted her own point because we're not even a minute into this and she still hasn't given us any examples or backed it up. So go ahead.
The other piece that I think is really important as we get started is we think about a lot in equity, and I know it's important, outcomes. But
yes, because equity often comes to mean equality of outcome, not equality of opportunity. Everybody gets the same whether they've earned it or not, whether they deserve it or not. Because need and want are two different things.
But if we don't think about the experiences every single day, students are in our schools hours, days, weeks, months, years. If we're not thinking about what those experiences look like along with the outcomes, then we're really going to miss the mark.
What are you talking about?
Right? When we think about that time, what is that time? Is school sucking the life out of the kids, or is it filling them?
I don't know. You tell me, which is it? And how did we get here all of a sudden?
Is it enriching them? Is it adding to them?
I don't know. I don't know. You're going to have to tell me. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Equity is what we need. I need a 1966 Ford Mustang. Is that okay? Yeah. Getting people what they need. Define need. versus want? Are you sure that they are not necessarily the same thing? Anyway.
And we want to create those schools where the students would never have to say, in the words of Nina Simone, I wish I knew how it would feel to be free.
Oh, please. Thank you, Bacala Driving 8 Man, for the drooling emoji. Yes, I'm going a little brain dead, and we're only 1:40 into this. We need to find schools where they don't have to, I wish I knew what it meant to be free. Oh, whoa. You know, those schools where you're shackled to the wall 24/7?
Those are the schools we want. Equity and justice for all students.
Equity and justice for all students. Okay. Again, we're not even 1:45 into this. Please give me some examples. Please continue to define your terms, because right now, yeah.
And I know there's lots of people in this room. We do equity work. I do equity work. We want it to be better for all of our learners.
Our learners. Okay. Thank you, Bacala, the Driving 8 Man. Please, sir, may I have some more gruel? Yeah. Oh, if I could only imagine a school where I'm free.
But what we have to understand is that we're climbing up.
What are you talking about?
Actually, our public mainstream school systems have never been equitable places.
In what sense? In what sense have they never been equitable places? What do you mean? I mean, if you were saying, you know, schools up until certain Supreme Court rulings and such were not equal places, I would totally agree. But we've lived at least a good, 40, 50 some odd plus years under different rules. And so you can't say they've never been equitable. They've certainly been more equitable, if you're talking in those fashion, in at least the last half century. So what are you talking about?
If we think about in the Canadian context, what has happened here, residential schools for Indigenous children from the 1830s to 1996.
Oh, this is Canada. I didn't know this was Canada. Oh, no. I'm out of my element now. Canada, that far, cold wasteland of the north. I don't know what to say about this. Pincalo, I'm sure this is all completely legitimate, isn't it?
And people say, oh, well, that was then and it's over. The impact of that is huge today.
Okay.
For Indigenous peoples and for all of us.
Okay.
Right? And
why do you, again, these speakers, when they always ask the audience, right? Like they need assurance, right? Are you confident enough in your own argumentation or aren't you? And if you're not, maybe you shouldn't be up on the stage making declarations of certitude. Maybe just a bit, right?
And so we have to acknowledge that oppression happens in these really big ways. And it's really clear. And I think most of us now would say, yes, residential school is very clear that that was such an oppressive system.
I don't know anything. Pretend I'm an idiot. I know it's a real tough stretch. Pretend I'm an idiot. Tell me something that I can sort of sink my teeth into here. Tell me some history. Tell me a fact. Give me an example. We can all agree. Why can we all agree? Okay. I am circling. Let's see. Where is it on here? Where did I put it? There's not many squares on here. Am I just completely losing my mind? Where's the mind reading assumes motives. Circling that one. Moving on.
But oppression happens in myriad other ways as well that we don't even think about.
Like?
And if we understand the system of oppression, we know that it's individual ideas, beliefs, attitudes, hatred, and bias. We know that it's at the societal level. We absorb the stereotypes and the prejudices. And we might sit here and say, oh, I'm not prejudiced. I don't have stereotypes. Don't lie. We do.
Don't lie. We do. If I hadn't already circled mind reading. Boy, oh boy, that's quite a litany. It's almost a list, but I'm going to wait and see if there's a list coming. Are you going to describe this system? Are you going to give us some examples? You're going to name some names, anything? We're just supposed to take your word for it because you say so, and you're indicting everybody in the room with being a bigot or a racist or something else. Way to win your audience.
Even if we don't know it.
Even if we don't know it. Even if we don't know how terrible we are, we're terrible because I said so, because you know it, it's true. Oh, you don't have to argue it. You don't have to question it. Just know that it's true. Go along with me because I tell you to. It's fine, guys. You're all terrible. We're all terrible. It's okay. We share in this terribleness together.
It's unconscious. Most of our bias is unconscious.
Oh my God. Unconscious bias. Microaggressions. Circling unconscious bias.
We got to do some work on ourselves. We got to unpack the things we've been socialized to believe. And then we think about the systems, institutions like schools, where we have policies, practices, and procedures.
Ooh, alliteration. I'm impressed.
That hold some up and push others down.
Yeah, okay. Examples? Any examples? Anything?
So how do we get to the place where we're pushing back against those things?
You have to describe those things before you can offer a solution. Please first diagnose the problem in detail before you start offering up the pushback. Again, if this is all prelude, if this is all opening paragraph of the essay kind of stuff, all right, fine. But we've heard it about 3 different times in 3 different ways now. So please, let's get to the body of the paper.
What do we do?
I don't know.
It's really interesting because I think most of us are socialized to believe that schools are naturally fair and neutral places.
Most of us are socialized to believe. Okay.
But we really have to challenge ourselves on that. How can that be so in this unfair world?
How can this be so in this unfair world? Again, I really hope she provides us some context, because I hate to tell you this, lady, the world isn't fair. Life isn't fair. 9 times out of 10, the condition you have in life is what you make of it, not what is given to you. So, if you're going to cite the world not being fair as evidence that everything is screwed up and uneven, well, yeah, then I guess you would have a whole lot of work to do.
So I think about a couple of groups.
Do you mean demographics?
In society for whom the system hasn't worked. And I dream about students who have a physical challenge or a disability.
A dream is a wish your heart makes. And you mean demographics.
And maybe a mental health issue. And I dream that they enter into our schools and they are not stigmatized. I dream they enter into our schools and they can enter any space, place, or program that is there for everyone else.
What if they are literally incapable of doing so? What if their disability literally prevents them from participating in certain things? What then? I mean, are they being treated unfairly, or is it just reality? Is it just that life sometimes isn't fair? The world is not an equitable place. Never has been, never will be. Everyone should be given equal opportunity, yes. But just like I'm never going to be a star in the NBA, I don't feel like I'm being cheated. It just didn't turn out that way for me. I'm not tall enough. I'm not athletic. So there you go. Should I still be an NBA star just because I want it? Because I think I need it? Am I not deserving of equity in that regard?
I dream that then they'll go in classrooms and there will be curriculum where they see themselves, curriculum where they're not the example of overcoming the odds. I dream about the school.
Whoa, that was a cut. Just as a note for anybody watching, I did not edit this video other than to take off the beginning and the end points that had no dialogue and only played some music, which I wasn't sure if was copyrighted or not. So just go along with me. Watch the video, watch her body position. Just because I'm a nitpicker like that.
Curriculum where they see themselves, curriculum where they're not the example of overcoming the odds. I dream about the schools where the kids who are gender non-binary, two-spirit, LGBTQ come into the school and all of who I am is all good.
Two-spirit. Non-binary. Right. Okay.
I dream about going to that classroom, and then that curriculum helps me to understand me.
Okay. I might be a little premature. I don't think so too much, but I'm circling benevolent condescension, talking about people who happen to be different or have a disability or something as though they are completely helpless, cannot integrate by themselves, etc., and so forth. God of Plague, the hell is two-spirit. Two-spirit, well, that is as far as I understand it, and feel free to correct me, it is a gross distortion of certain cultural elements of Native Americans and Indigenous people in Canada and elsewhere about roles within society, etc., except that it's been equated lately with being non-binary or being gender flexible or something, gender fluid. So yeah, that's that in a nutshell. I'm not the expert. Look it up for yourself. Check me on that, but that's my rough understanding.
I walk into that classroom and nobody's questioning whether my history, my LGBTQ history should be taught or not taught. No.
Your history doesn't matter in a school. We're not there to learn about you. I don't know if you understand this. You are not the center of everyone's universe. Your problems, your history, your experiences aren't really anybody else's business and aren't anyone else's, concern, really. Having you being treated equally as everybody else is what we are striving for. Despite what you are, that you as a human being are treated with the dignity and respect of equal opportunity, regardless of your various components. Your various components being effectively irrelevant to the opportunity. So your experiences, your history is none of my concern in school or otherwise. Unless I have some other kind of relationship with you, I couldn't care less. Thank you, Bacala Driving 8 Man. I thought Two-Spirit was the furries. Again, there are various interpretations I've seen. The one that I'm at least somewhat familiar with is taking part of some Native American tribal traditions and remolding it into meaning something like non-binary or gender fluid or something. Thank you, God of Plague. Thanks for the info. Never heard of that. Well, now you have, but again, be sure to double check me on that. I'm sort of pulling from my memory. I haven't spoken of or seen Two-Spirit mentioned in anything that I've done recently. There was a video a while back about schools and things that had to do with Two-Spirit, but it's been a bit, so my research is a bit rusty.
No one is questioning that we're seeing, oh, what? We can be a protagonist in a novel? There can be a story with a gay character?
Oh my God, what a novel idea. I said novel. Yeah, that's never happened before. Doesn't happen now. Let's get to the point where it is irrelevant, huh? Where it's not, yeah. And I'm all for that. I'm all for getting to the point where it's not shocking, it's not novel, it's not unique, it's not special. A character can be anything. Whatever. Who cares? Is the character any good? Well, that's a completely different question. But the various components that make up the character's descriptors, sure, whatever. Is the character interesting? Beyond things that have nothing to do with determining the character of the character. That's a different question.
Not as the sidebar, not as the stereotype, not as the cutout gay best friend. What about kids whose families are experiencing poverty? When they walk in our schools, they wouldn't be inundated with those costly field trips that we keep doing. We say we know it's a problem and we keep putting them out there.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. If you're talking about class, now that's something that kind of goes beyond all control, right? In the sense that I don't have any control over my gender or my sexuality or anything else, but poverty, yeah, that's something that can affect anybody at any time. So sure, if there are schools that are requiring of students to go on field trips that they end up having to pay for, and they don't have something set up to try to supplement students who can't afford it, sure. In that instance, there should be an equality of opportunity. So there should be some exceptions available for students who can't afford it. Some money set aside to supplement students who can't afford required activities. Sure. That makes sense to me. I am all for that. Okay, that was your first good point after nearly 5 minutes. Great. Only got another 12 minutes to go.
It wouldn't be pizza days or book fairs or homework that requires the internet. Glad to hear you don't have homework that requires the internet, or when you do, you provide for that. Or homework period. We could talk about that too.
You want to take away homework completely? Okay. Access to the internet? Well, certainly now, I don't know when this, if it said when this was recorded, I missed it. Access to the internet obviously now is far more vital than it was 9 months ago. So on that score, I agree as well. If you're going to require students to have to remote learn, et cetera, then you're going to have to figure out some way of providing them access to the internet so that they have the same opportunity of education as anybody else. So sure, okay. On this point, generally, I'm on the same page with our speaker. That does not mean that I somehow validate the rest of the nonsense she's spilling out.
Wouldn't be graduation cap and gown, student fees, all those things that we know. Projects, how about school projects, where parents have to go buy materials that might cost more than what families have to feed their families on in a week.
I mean, sounds a little hyperbolic, but all the same, if somebody finds themselves in that situation, again, there should be some kind of allowances made and so on. I agree.
And then what about teachers who understand that schema is not intelligence and that intelligence is not correlated with a postal code?
What?
Teachers who would understand that your families, when you're a student whose family is experiencing poverty, that your families care just as much about you as the families who are middle class and upper class. And teachers who wouldn't say, you need to have grit, you need to have resilience, because they'd know you'd already have it, and they'd know that that does nothing to change the systemic barriers that we've created.
Thank you, McCall, the Driving Ape Man, recorded November 2019, and yes, some of this is happening. Okay. Some of this is happening. What do you mean by this, just for clarity? Okay, but yeah, so this was recorded before the pandemic. All right. I want to get Pincala's answer to some of this is happening. This as in supplementing students who don't have access to the internet and that kind of thing? Or what? Schema, yeah, certain postal codes, certain neighborhoods. I'm hesitant to circle word salad because I kind of understand what she's saying, even if she hasn't provided any evidence to say that's how teachers honestly operate or how they behave, because she's assuming motives and mind reading again. Rick Ashbringer, schema, an underlying organizational pattern or structure, conceptual framework. Yeah. Schema does not equal intelligence, does not equal postal code. And Advocatus Diaboli, saying schema is a fancy way of saying different people are equally capable of being smart. Sure. Okay. I will leave the word salad aside for the moment. Pincala says, yes, from the no homework to the access to internet and tablets, Chromebooks, etc. Scribelight. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, since this took place before the pandemic, yeah, arguments about equality of access is certainly valid. So on that, like I say, on that score, I agree.
Oh, I think about the girls who could walk in school and I can be a girl just like I am. I don't have to conform to any standard. I don't have to adhere to your sexist dress code.
Your sexist dress code. Oh, okay.
But all of who I am as a girl, I can just be me.
Describe just being you. What is an inappropriate dress code? What is an inappropriate style of dress for a young girl in school, might I ask?
And there's no one way to do that. I could walk into a classroom and there'd be curriculum that's talking about the issues for girls and women.
The issues for girls and women. Why not the issues for men and boys? Why can't we do both? Why can't we talk about issues that affect people?
And I'm talking about all girls and women. So the fact that Black trans women are being killed at alarming rates today,
What?
we'd be talking about that.
You want to talk about the murder of Black trans women in schools? Why?
The fact that missing and murdered Indigenous women, it's still an issue.
Is it an issue of education or is it an issue of law enforcement? What are you talking about?
We'd be talking about that.
Why?
I didn't think as a girl, you would not need to recruit me to the STEM program because there wouldn't be a STEM program because we're already killing that game.
Well, okay, and there was another sudden edit, but okay, so there wouldn't be a STEM program, so we should just get rid of the STEM program because girls are doing it already without the help? But then we need to have issues specific to women and girls in school because those aren't being taught, which means that girls can't handle those things by themselves, which means they do need help. So we do need a STEM program because other... All right. And while we're there, let's talk about murder and serial killers and death and destruction in school. And just like elementary school, public school. We want to talk about the Highway of Tears. Is that going to be really relevant? Okay.
And then when I think about those spaces and places that I interact with in the school, I wouldn't have to worry about someone brushing up against me, grabbing me, groping me.
Okay.
If I went to a party, I wouldn't be afraid to take an open can of pop for fear someone put something in it.
Or maybe just not drink anything you didn't have control over. Because I hate to tell you this, the world is not a fair and even place ever. How about some common sense? We are never going to live in a fantasy land of perfection and safety. Ever. Ever. Ever.
To try to harm me later.
Oh, God.
And in addition to all that, for all the Black girls out there, we would never have to say again, do not touch my hair.
Taking my glasses off, putting my hands on my face for a moment, rubbing my eyes in frustration. Okay. Okay, going to the bingo card, make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. Circling that one. We were talking about education again, weren't we? Something. Thank you, Piccolo, again. And remember, folks, she's a PhD. A PhD in what? I always have to ask, like somebody has a doctorate in front of their name. I always go, a doctor in what? Okay, just so I don't get accused of ignoring. Brian King. Brian King has said several times, I need to circle toxic. We've only just started, and I think I have cancer. Well, Brian, in the spiritual sense, you may be correct. In the technical, literal content sense, we haven't gotten there yet. So give it some time. We still have 10 minutes or just about a little bit over. She might say the word just yet.
And all the little girls, we wouldn't have to tell them, dream big, little ones, because their realities would be big.
I thought girls were already killing it all by themselves. They didn't need a STEM program.
We would have shown them that.
Uh-huh.
And then I think about Indigenous and Black students when they walk into a school, any space they would enter into, whether it be the school office, whether it be a classroom.
The bathroom, the gymnasium.
They would be seen.
Seen in what way?
They would be valued for who they are.
No. You're not talking about valuing people for who they are. You're talking about categorizing and coddling people on the basis of what they are. You've not talked about any who's here. You've only talked about the what. Do not try to elevate what you're doing into something more meaningful than discrimination, because that's all you're doing. Categorizing people up on the basis of their skin color or their gender or their orientation. That's it. You don't care about the who. You care about the what. Sorry. Little peeved there. Thank you, Havoc Vladimir Vitstalinov. This is why it's more important than ever to homeschool. We don't need kids being taught by psychotics like her. I still see a lot of value in going to school, having to interact with other people, learning lessons of socialization, having to kind of make it through certain problems without mom and dad there to instantly back you up all the time. There's a lot of value in that. I think the standards for what qualifies as an educator these days and what education is supposed to do has been grossly mutated in a lot of places. But I still see value in going to school. But there's also equal value in parents taking a directed and focused interest in their children's education, which is really the other necessary, probably more than 50% of the equation. But truth be told, and full disclosure, I am not a parent. So this is all just hypothetical for me. Mileage may vary.
Not because they fit into the box you think they need to fit into.
You just fit them into a box of indigenous and or black students, ignoring anything else about them. The only thing more important than who they are is the color of their skin or their ethnicity.
And guess what? Then, this is a big one.
Oh.
They'd be given the benefit of the doubt.
If you want people to be given the benefit of the doubt, don't assume that they're being doubted because of their skin color. Make that an irrelevancy. Equal opportunity. Benefit of the doubt. Yeah, okay, sounds great. Stop putting kids into boxes.
Then, wait a minute, I'd go in my classroom as that black student, and I would start to flip through the books. I would start to open my Chromebook, and there would be history there that was connected to who I am.
Why? Who you are? You're not talking about who. You are not talking about who. And skin color does not define identity. I hate to tell you this. I've said it a million times. What was a driving force in the 90s militia movement? White identity, which was just another way of saying white supremacy, but making white skin the preeminent factor in unifying a demographic under one ideology. Black identity, indigenous identity, and on is no different and no better than to reduce someone down to their skin color. You're not going to find anything in a history book about who I am based on my skin color. What George Washington did or what Charles Manson did says nothing about who I am simply because they were both white. Stop it. Just stop it. Thank you, Just Paul. This person needs some professional help. I'm not quite sure what she needs, but I know that her ideas are not what is needed.
The greats, the change makers, the thinkers, they would be like me.
Why? What do you mean like you? Like you in that they were creative? Like you in that they were hard workers? Like you in that they were, I don't know, industrious? Or are you just talking about skin color? I think we know the answer to that one, but I just thought I'd put that out there.
There would be information that taught me that math did not start with the Pythagorean theorem, but math came from Africa. There would be science that actually acknowledged that a lot of what we consider science today came from indigenous knowledges.
You ever feel like you're being talked down to? Just a little bit.
I think about all of these things. Our history and our present would matter in that space.
Oh my God.
I think it would be like Wakanda.
Oh, Wakanda, yes, the highly technological, xenophobic, isolationist African country whose system of government is who can beat up the other guy better to succeed in power. Yeah, if only we were all like Wakanda. Jesus.
Right?
No, not right. No. You ever actually break down the politics and the setup of Wakanda? Not exactly a utopia, got to tell you.
That fictional place from Black Panther.
Well, at least I'm glad you acknowledge it's fictional. Ebony Williams, did she really say Wakanda? Yeah, she really said Wakanda. Now, granted, she's being a little facetious, I think, but let's see what she says.
Right? Where there was never colonization or enslavement.
Yeah, but they still had a succession system of mortal combat. How was leadership decided in this non-colonial place of isolationism and xenophobia? Mortal combat. Oh, nothing more civilized than that, you know?
That's what it would feel like.
Yeah.
And I know these issues are big and huge in our society.
What, fake comic book nations of technological wonderment? Yeah, those are big deals in our society.
But each of us has a sphere of influence.
Oh.
What do we do with it?
Do we, though? I thought there were certain groups that had the privileges that other groups did not. So what sphere of influence do the not privileged groups have? Do tell.
And so I encourage educators to think about a quote from Dr. Tina Bugren. She said, teachers make more minute-by-minute decisions than brain surgeons.
Okay. And she measured this out how? I'm just curious. I mean, it's an interesting quote, I guess. I'd be curious to know how she figured that out.
What are we doing with those decisions? On whose ideology? On what ideology is it based? On what understandings?
Well, apparently you want them to be based on your ideology and your understandings. But you haven't told us what the problem is yet, except to say that there is one and use a bunch of big words and broad concepts. So I don't know. What ideology is it based on? What ideology do you want to replace it with? And here's a question. Should education be based around an ideology at all?
So what I'm going to share with you right now are some thoughts that I have based on some of my Netflix favorites. So
what? What? Okay, backing up slightly because I cut her off, and I think there was another very awkward edit there in the middle. Okay, hold on. Before I do that, let's go back to the bingo card real quick. I just want to review. Anecdote that probably never happened. She hasn't given us any anecdotes. Nothing at all. No examples, no anecdotes, no statistics. Just nothing. Self-vilification or wretchedness. In no way has she vilified herself. Weightless example. The hair-touching thing... There's a whole bunch. I'm going to wait until the end of it, probably, unless she gives us something very clear, but there's been plenty of weightless examples. Word salad, I really should circle that one. Ebony Williams, thank you so much. Get yourself something nice for listening to this foolishness. Thank you, Ebony. Man, this lady's something else. Yeah, I'm going to circle word salad. You know, at this point, everything in, even though we're only about halfway through this thing, a little bit over, there's been plenty of word salad. Leaves out vital context. Yeah, she really has. I have no hope that she's going to fill it in, so leaves out vital context. Takes credit for something done, experienced by others in their demographic. Not clear. She's named a bunch of examples of things, but I don't think she's referred to them to herself yet. White supremacy. She hasn't used the phrase. She's come all but saying it, truth be told. I'm going to wait. A list, not officially yet. Plays victim, certainly. Certainly. She's referred to herself coming into a classroom and this, that, and the other. So yeah, plays victim. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. I haven't heard anything like that yet. Wage gap. She's talked about poverty, but that's not a wage gap yet. We might get there. Patriarchy, no. Feminism, no. Toxic, no. Sorry, Brian. Childhood or family anecdote. She hasn't really talked about herself. Contradicts own point or argument. Yeah. She was saying before how girls don't need a STEM system because they got it owned already. And then she talks about how much help girls need in order to advance. So, yeah, circling that one. Let's see. Pinkala says her program from 2011 is called Urban Schooling, Skybright. I could believe it. Okay, we are very close to a couple of bingos. Wage gap, childhood or family anecdote. So let's see if she gets us there.
Things. So what I'm going to share with you right now are some thoughts that I have based on some of my Netflix favorites. So one is called Limitless, and it's about a group of women from India who started a running club.
Thank you, Ebony Williams, again for the smiling dog cat fox. Oh, happy dog cat fox. Okay, Limitless, a group of women from India. What was it? Sorry, I cut her off there.
So one is called Limitless, and it's about a group of women from India who started a running club.
Okay.
The next one's called Breaking Habits, and it's about self-declared anarchist activist nuns.
Anarchist activist nuns. Oh, okay. Advocatus Diaboli is correct in saying a list. Yes, this is her Netflix favorites list. I'm circling a list. If she brings up feminism, if she brings up a childhood or family anecdote, if she brings up anything that could be extrapolated to be a wage gap, we've got some bingos just waiting here, guys, and we still have 8 minutes left in this.
Who are growing cannabis and then giving it away for people who can't afford it for the medical benefits of the CBD oil. That's a very good one. The other one's called Game Changers, about athletes who've decided to go and start a plant-based diet so that they can up their game, right?
Wow.
So how they're trying to increase their abilities.
This has what to do with education in Canada?
So I think about these documentaries, and yes, the topics are interesting, but that's not where I'm going.
It's certainly not where you're going because none of those topics sound... Well, the anarchist nuns sounds interesting. Everything else is kind of, okay.
I started to think about this talk today, and I started to think about the titles.
Did you think about this talk today? Okay.
So in this work, what do I think we need to do in the last few minutes that I have?
I don't know.
Limitless.
Yes.
We cannot think about this work of equity and changing, upending a system of oppression in our schools by thinking about the one thing we're going to do, the one check off, the one workshop.
Wait, check off? Are we Star Trekking now?
Right? Okay, I'm 52.5. I'm owning it right now.
This lady's amazing. I got to say, this lady is absolutely amazing.
I go to yoga. I go to an hour-and-a-half class whenever I can.
Yeah.
Right? And so I go in, and after the first class, they said, you got to keep coming back.
Yeah.
You got to make the commitment.
Yeah.
And then they have a board where you can have 500. You sign your name. I signed it last year.
500
classes, 1,000 classes, 2,000 classes. You got to make the commitment if you want to see the change. You got to put in the time.
2,000 classes? Good God. How many times a day would you have to? Okay. I was told there would be no math, but somehow I want to figure out what the math would be. Like if I went to 2 yoga classes a day, 1,000 days, that's like 3.5 years or something. Oh my God.
I think about this equity work. We got hundreds, 500 years of oppression, and we think we can solve it in a 1.5-hour workshop?
What are you talking about? Will you pick a topic and stick to it, please? Education, fairness, equity in education. That was what the title of this thing was. And now we're talking about solving, quote unquote, 500 years of oppression in a yoga class. What?
Come on, people.
Yeah, come on, people. Come on, man.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
What's the commitment? So we have to look at this work as ongoing, as a process. Right?
What work? What work? You have not spelled out anything of work. No mechanisms, no actions, no tasks, no goals, no specific problems to solve. What are you talking about?
I'm not saying you can't get a good idea from that 1.5-hour workshop. I'm not saying you can't get something to think about.
Yeah, because if you said that, you probably have very little to do with yourself.
But it's not going to be the end.
Oh.
And I think when we do this work, we have to think about it as, again, what do I need to learn and possibly unlearn?
What the? In my Curriculum of Fear playlist, which I'll probably add this one to it because it's at least partially relevant, there is a video I just call The Work, because that phrase, this work, the work, this difficult work, and so on, anything like that, it takes on an almost like spiritual element, like a crusade, like a missionary type deal, right? It's said with such, sort of all-encompassing reverence. That phrase alone, this work, the work. And almost never are we told what exactly is the work.
To move things forward.
Yeah.
In my work, I try to encourage and invite educators to participate in a process called critically conscious practitioner inquiry.
Critically conscious practitioner inquiry is something I like to call, oh my gosh, we're almost there, guys. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. So I'm circling that one. We are so close, guys. We just need one or two specific things for her to drop here, and we're golden.
Our critical consciousness, according to Paulo Freire and Pedagogy of the Oppressed, is really the ability to perceive social, economic, and political oppression and to take action against it. And many of us know we work with culturally responsive and relevant pedagogy. One of the tenets is to help our students to build critical consciousness. But we can't help our students to do that if we're not doing it ourselves.
Translation.
And we know that most of us, intentionally and unintentionally, have been educated not to know that information. Right? And so how do we begin to learn what we need to learn to push back to oppression?
I don't know.
So I think that's really important.
Tell me, what does this work? What do you have to do? Give me an answer. Give me something. You got 6 minutes. Come on.
One of the things also a lot of people say in equity work is that it's really important to share stories.
Yeah, anecdotes are great. Tell me a story about yourself. Please, please tell me a story about yourself, your childhood. Or at this point, a story about yourself I'll make count because this has been going on for so long and we're so close to a bingo. Please tell me a story about your growing up, your educational experience.
And I'm going to argue that if we don't have that critical consciousness built, then the stories might not take us where we think we want to go, right? And many of us know, again, from our own use of TED Talks, there is danger in a single story.
Our own use of TED Talks? What? Wait, did we just go meta there for a second?
But what about danger in a single analysis?
Like yours?
I think about a toy that I had as a child. It was a
oh my God! A toy you had as a child? Everybody, we did it!
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah!
Oh boy, guys, we got our first bingo! All the way across the bottom. Make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. Childhood or family anecdote. Contradicts own point or argument. Benevolent condescension. Microaggressions and conscious bias. Bingo number one. Bingo number one. Okay. We are set to get at least one, maybe two more before the end of this, guys. Oh boy. Okay. Tell us about the toy you had as a child. I'm dying to know.
Kaleidoscope. And I would look through it and...
Oh, a toy that has a prism of different colors and shapes and they're all even because of a mirror that shows them in sort of equal number and equal distribution. I'm guessing.
See the colors and shapes shifting and twisting. And when I look through that, and I understand stories, I bring all of what I know about the world to that story. When I share my story, do you filter my story through your kaleidoscope?
To some extent, probably. If you don't give enough detail, I have to fill in the blanks, as I've done several times now. Sure.
And if you do, if your kaleidoscope is devoid of a systemic analysis, then do we come out where we need to be in terms of moving forward in equity?
Okay, and guys, I'm sorry. That is not me. That's the recording being all scratchy and fuzzy. I can't do anything about it, unfortunately. So, but if I'm not listening to your story the way you want me to listen to your story, well, here's a tip. Tell a better story.
Or do you just have a story now that in your mind is the one-off, maybe the anomaly, or maybe keeps you comfortable?
What?
Habits. How do we break the habits that harm? The textbook we've always used, the lesson we've always done,
She lost her plot there for a second.
Classics in the canon. I can't take it anymore. All of these things are based on particular ways of being, knowing, and doing in the world that are tied to power and privilege.
Well, then go work for a private school that bucks the trend and gives kids a proper education, an education free of colonialism and privilege and power dynamics and so on and so forth. Impose your own ideology upon the children that you believe is the correct one, that does away with all the evilness of the world. And your school will be totally and absolutely equal and fair, even if the world isn't, because you're right, everybody else is wrong, and kids need to be assessed on their skin color. Yeah, you go with your bad self.
Are we exploring that? Are we examining that? Are we thinking about the harm that is causing to the students in our classroom spaces?
Cite the harm. Give me something. I will take a bad example instead of no example at all. I will take a bad argument rather than no argument at all. At no point in any of this has she spelled out any specific things that could conceivably be addressed by change in policy or law. She's talked in generalities, in broad strokes, and abstracts this entire time, as though that means something, and it doesn't. I think she's made 2 references this entire time to something that you could say, aha, that was a historical system, policy, whatever in Canada in education. But she didn't expound on it. She didn't say how it's changed or if it's changed or what could be done to make it better than it is. No, just that it needs to change. How? What needs to change? What's the problem? Then give me the solution. What are you talking about?
The students who are not represented, but also the students who are represented, who need to know that this is not the full picture.
Define represented. What do you mean? You're talking about when you open up a history book and, oh, there's a historical figure who's like me because they have the same skin color. Is that what representation is to you?
So I think about a story. I think about a situation actually that happened for me, and it happened for many students as I share the story in the province.
Oh boy, are we going to have an anecdote that never really happened? Won't get us a bingo, but hey, I'll take one more square on the board.
But it comes from a text I'd seen, not a text, a post on social media.
But wait, I'm confused now. Is this your story or is this everybody else's story? Was this a text you saw or a post on social media? I'm getting ready to circle anecdote that probably never happened just on the basis of the poorness of the setup.
Where a teacher had posted a picture of students holding balloons.
A teacher posted a picture and you first got mixed up with whether or not that was a textbook you saw? Okay, thank you, Drew W. So she's for school choice, and I'm sure she would have no problem with an Aryan-centric schools about superior Caucasians. Well, I mean, you have to have kids see that they're represented, right? So, all right. Backing up slightly just to make sure I didn't miss nothing.
Not a text, a post on social media where a teacher had posted a picture of students holding balloons.
Okay, a picture of students holding balloons. Got it.
And the post was about doing this great STEM activity about static electricity.
And as we know, there should be no STEM because obviously girls are already doing all the work themselves and don't need it, except that they need special consideration because girls are not getting the attention they deserve in schools. Got it.
And the teacher was encouraging the students, hold the balloon over your head and watch your hair fly kind of thing, right?
I can already see where this is going. Can you?
Right? You see my face? And so I look at the picture that was posted. This was posted. You know, boards post stuff. You guys gotta be careful what you post. Post stuff like this.
Oh, how dare you post a picture of your kids doing a simple science experiment?
And I was horrified, though.
You were horrified?
Because in the middle of that room, like 95% of the kids were doing it.
Oh,
But in the middle of that room, there sat one little girl, one black child,
oh no.
who sat there with the balloon in her lap. She wasn't holding the balloon over her head. She was not looking at the camera and smiling like the other kids.
Oh no.
And my heart sank.
Oh no.
It sank for that little girl.
Yeah.
It sank for the student maybe in the back who was in the hijab we couldn't see. But it
Uh,
also sank for my daughter.
uh,
Because I remembered the day in grade 3 when she came home and she said, Mommy, I couldn't do science today.
I couldn't do science today. I couldn't observe something in nature and make an observation about it or make an assessment of its effect. Even if I can't replicate it on myself, I couldn't do science today, guys. Thank you, Johnny Stoffel. And Lamar with leukemia stared at a deflated balloon.
When these things happen in our classrooms, they cause harm.
Never do another static electricity demonstration again.
Because my daughter with her beautiful braided African diasporic hair could not do that assignment. She couldn't do the assignment was one thing.
I do not believe you that she was assigned to rub a balloon on her head and that she failed it because her hair would not cooperate. Bull pucky. Anecdote that probably never happened. That is absolute horse hockey.
But she also was made to feel that a part of who she is was inferior, lacking, insufficient.
I wonder who made her feel that way.
So I ask everybody here to just think about that.
Yeah.
What are those habits that we have?
Those habits of rubbing balloons on our heads.
Those lessons and things we just keep doing.
Yeah.
Because it's easy, it came in a kit.
Yeah.
That harm.
Yeah.
That cause harm.
Yeah.
Harm based on who kids are.
Not who. Stop with the who. You are not an owl. You don't get to use that word in the context you're using that word. You're talking about what? You're talking about indeterminative factors about people. They don't say anything about who they are. It says about what they are. And your little girl was not failed in an assignment because her hair did not cooperate with static electricity. Good God.
So I ask everyone here, and I tell this story a lot. And
I believe that you do. I believe that you do.
I've actually told this story with Black educators in the room, and how many hands go up and say, I remember. I remember the day that I was handed the balloon.
I remember the day. I remember that day. Oh, what a day. Rain clouds gathered above me, and I couldn't rub that balloon hard enough. I tried so hard. The squelching of the rubber against my follicles, but it just wouldn't work. Ever since then, I've hated balloons. Hated them.
We've been doing this for years.
Uh-huh.
We've been causing harm.
Oh, with a balloon standing. Oh, come on.
So I ask us all to think.
No, you're not asking us to think. You're asking us to agree. You're asking us not to think. In this entire talk, at no point have I felt like I've been invited to think about anything, because you've told me what I think. You've told me what conclusions I should already reach without any evidence, without any examples, without anything except your word and your complaint. There is no thinking here. There's just nodding and smiling.
It might not be that STEM activity, but what is your metaphorical balloon?
What is my metaphorical balloon? Oh boy, no matter how hard I rub, I just can't get the effect I want.
What is the thing that you do that might cause a student harm, exclusion, a feeling of inferiority? And I firmly agree that if we don't raise our critical consciousness about how these things work and play out in our schools, that we are never going to move where we need to move.
Where do we need to move? Okay, well, I mean, this is a great opportunity. Speaking of equal opportunity, this is a great opportunity. Okay, she's brought up, as ridiculous as it is, an active example of what she's talking about. Okay, so the balloon static electricity experiment, right? Very simple, well-known, got it. I understand. All right. So the static electricity balloon experiment, as practiced currently, is not fair. It is harmful, according to our speaker. All right. For the sake of argument, grant you that. What is your alternative? How would you do the static electricity experiment on a budget, in a classroom, that it makes sense and has the students participating? I'm sure there are other options. I'm sure there are other options. Okay. I'm sure you can come up with something. And being that you are a PhD holding educator of some kind, you're now going to give us that alternative that is more equitable, less harmful. Aren't you? Or aren't you?
You know, people talk a lot about microaggressions.
Oh, well, if I hadn't already circled that square would be circled.
You're microaggressions all the time. Microaggressions, microaggressions. And I think that's such a misnomer.
I agree. It is a misnomer. And you know who talks about it the most? People who want me to believe in microaggressions. But yeah, okay, it's a misnomer. What is it? What is it actually?
Because the impact of all of those is macro. And one of the other things we know in equity work, everybody knows it, and I say it all the time, intent does not equal impact.
You know, that is a phrase that I just heard recently in another TEDx talk, didn't we? Intent does not equal impact, or it's not about your intent, it's about your impact. What was that? Was that? Oh, no, it was Rithu. When I did the video just recently, I think, yeah, it was the video where I did where she was talking about anti-racism. It's not about intent, it's about impact. Yeah. Okay, that's something to watch out for, because that's the second time I've heard that. 2 different places, 2 different subjects, technically. It's not about the intent, it's about the impact. Buzz phrase. A more common buzz phrase than maybe I thought. So remember that one for the future, everyone.
And at the end of the day, where are we leaving kids?
I don't know. Where are we?
You know, there's a woman.
Where are we leaving kids? You're not even going to tell us. We're just going to, okay, God of the gaps theory. All right. Yeah. We'll just assume we know the answer because you said so. Okay.
Named Nora Allingham, and she actually worked decades ago for the Ministry of Education, Ontario Ministry of Education. She was a director. And she wrote a document called What is Curriculum? I share that a lot in my workshops too.
You appropriate other people's work for your own? Oh, okay.
And she talks about how we have to think of everything that we do as curriculum in schools. And if we're not thinking about everything, then we're not going to create the strategies that will work for all of our learners.
This sounds abstractly like intersectionality. I don't know why that is. Maybe I'm just jumping the gun.
I agree with that, and I'll add to that.
Of course you will, because you have to make it your own.
If we are not building our critical consciousness about how oppression plays out in macro ways and in micro ways that don't feel so micro, then we are never going to get to the place where we have created those schools. If we don't understand this work as limitless, if we don't understand that it needs to be a process where we're going on a journey.
No, I think the phrase you're looking for isn't limitless, but endless. There's never a goal that can be reached. Not that the opportunities are limitless, that the journey is endless.
Right? And that critically conscious practitioner inquiry is a place where I'm building my critical consciousness and I'm inquiring, and I'm building my knowledge and I'm inquiring, and I'm building and I'm inquiring, and we keep it going.
Keep what? I know we're too late in this to hope for any specificity, but hope springs eternal.
Because we need to learn so much that we all have not been exposed to or taught. I think if we do that, if we agree to engage in that way, then we might end up being able to change the game for our students because we've changed the game for ourselves. And then maybe, just maybe, we'll create those schools where all of our students can be, well, free. Thank you.
All right. One more time over the bingo card. Self-vilification or wretchedness. At no point did she diminish herself. Weightless example. In aggregate, there were plenty of weightless examples. She kept bringing up things, but not giving any specificity. Didn't bolster her argument one way or the other. So circle on that one. Takes credit for something done, experienced by others in their demographic. Not directly. I mean, I can't think of anything. White supremacy. Okay, now this is going to be contentious. I understand this is going to be contentious. She never said the phrase. She came close, but I'm very hesitant to circle it because she never brought up white people. That's really the deciding factor. She talked about indigenous kids, black kids. She talked about groups who have the privilege and the power, but she never brought up race insofar as who has the privilege. And that's where I'm off on. That's why we have two different squares, one for privilege, one for white supremacy. And she didn't. So I'm hesitant there. Very, very, very hesitant. Wage gap. She never brought up differentials. She brought up a poverty. That's true, but she never brought up a wage gap. She never brought up a disparity of class on the basis of other things. It didn't come up. Patriarchy, no. Feminism, no. Toxic, no. Okay, so I will take. Let me display my card here so everybody can see it. I will take arguments. You're going to have to come up with a really good one or an example that I have blanked out of my memory to fill up the card any further. But I will accept arguments for any of the not filled in squares. Advocast Dibbly, no more balloons to teach kids about electricity. From now on, only car batteries and jumper cables are allowed. Yes. Lexi Mads, I think it was enough. Intent does equal impact, Scribe Light. We all know what she meant. Oh, now that's clever. That is clever, using her own words against her. But aren't we better than that? Aren't we better than that, Lexi? I don't know. Okay, Lexi, do you want to lower yourself to her level of thinking, just for the sake of a bingo? Now, you tell me. You tell me. God of Plague. I have no idea what you talked about. I feel like Sinatra about a month ago. All I remember is balloons and Wakanda. I don't blame you. What's his face McWhatnot? She talked about lots of different underprivileged non-white people. It's true. I know, but we already circled privilege. She didn't make an argument about white supremacy. I know you couldn't take it in implication. I'm trying to be, because we already have one bingo. To get any further ones on shaky evidence, I need a good argument. Okay, that's all. So I'm challenging you guys to give me a good argument. And I realize I am a difficult taskmaster on this, but it's true. That's part of the fun. Spittlebuggies, I can't see emotion, so I will never understand the macro aggressions, and whatever she said will never be true for all. What you think, Scribelette? How is she explained to me? I don't know. She was all the micros equal a macro. Like, oh, okay. Kenley says no. Lexi Mad says nope. Pincalo says no. Lower ourselves to her level. Yeah, you're right. Faithless held to her own standards. No. We operate on our standards, floating above this presentation by the purity of the bingo card. I'm not going to lower myself there. Now, that's not to say that if someone said everything but the phrase feminism and talked about every element of feminism but never used the word, by the end of it, I wouldn't circle it in aggregate. I have done that before. It's true. But we are so on the edge of an extra bingo here. After already getting a bingo, I just want to be sure I'm being honest. That's all. Keeverdam, Scribelight, does her talking about female issues count as patriarchy or feminism? Oh, okay. Now that's, you know what? Well, here's the thing. It's sort of like Alien versus Predator. No matter who wins, we lose. So since it was specifically about girls, and there, yeah, you know what? You know what? You got me, Keeve. You got me. And with that, guys, I am so happy to say, well, at least technically.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah!
Double bingo. Oh my gosh, guys, that's pretty good. We've had a dry spell last couple of TEDx's, so a double bingo is very nice. Okay. Now, that being said, again, the threshold is even higher for any further arguments. I'll give you feminism, not going to give you patriarchy unless there's a really good argument, and I don't think there was one. Lexi Mads, you don't always have to say white supremacy to understand what she's talking about. Black kids can't do static electricity balloon experiment. 95% of the kids could do it. Who's supreme there? Again, it's a fine line between privilege and talking about white supremacy. Okay? Because it's not just white kids who have hair that'll work with static electricity. Lexi Man says, I feel racist arguing that. I'm sorry. No. This is the conundrum, isn't it? You have to use their arguments and their evidence to try to come to terms with the content of the TEDx for the sake of the bingo card. You're trying to rationalize what they say to fit within these very defined squares. That's not you doing that. That's trying to take their arguments and fit here. Okay? So no judgments on you. We're trying to make sense of the nonsensical. That's what the bingo card is for, after a fashion. Mike R, patriarchy for the sexist dress code for girls. Again, that could lean more into feminism. Like I say, I've given feminism because she talks specifically about women and girls. Talking about patriarchy is another whole other ballgame. Assassin the Gray, scribe like privilege equals who white devil supremacy. No, it doesn't necessarily so. They can bring up privilege and never talk about race. We've seen that before in other TEDx's. So they're two distinct concepts. You would have to bring up something more substantive, irate Alex, about white people for me to go for white supremacy. Let's see. Pinkal driving a man. Any who uses Wakanda to define equity has no fucking clue about Wakanda. Yeah, like I said. Yeah. Oh, Wakanda. What a utopia. Hidden away, isolationist, xenophobic, and has a governmental system based on Mortal Kombat. Yeah. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Lexi Mads. Well, I did that with intent does not equal impact, so I'm not impacted. I don't know what to tell you. Mystery. Okay, I am expanding on the other white supremacy argument. White kids can do the static electricity trick because they are superior. Other kids can, and it was even mentioned in a kid in a hijab. Indigenous kids could. Asian kids could. Nothing about having hair that'll react visibly to static electricity says anything about their skin color inherently. So, sorry. Let's see. No one knower. Who was the oppressor for 500 years, Scribelight? Okay. All right. You got me. You got me. Fair enough. That's fair enough. Triple bingo!
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah!
All right, guys. I am pretty sure that we have wrung the last drop of blood from that stone. We got a triple bingo. Let me just make sure. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we don't have any extras that were suddenly filled up by that. All right. Well, guys, I mean, not the most bingos ever, but certainly after the most recent TEDx's, one of the most nonsensical. Like I said before, I am more frustrated by people who list off problems without defining them and then never even offer solutions that are abstract. Right? It's just, these are problems. Big, giant, broad, nonsensical, amorphous things. And I'm not going to bother telling you a solution. We just need to change it. We need to fix it. Fix what? This thing over here, this cloud, this haze of an idea. We need to fix it. And when it comes to education, like so many of you said, like I've said, if we still had the square on the board that was like, shouldn't be in job or position, I'd be circling that about 17 times. Because if this lady is in charge of educating children in some way, shape, or form, if her victimhood ideology, if her inherent benevolent condescension, if her categorizing people on what they are and trying to equate that to who they are, as though skin color, race, ethnicity is a definitive of character, is a definitive of personality or something, or of fate, or of quality of life, and so on, I wouldn't want her anywhere near my kids if I had kids. But all the same, and I know this is going to sound weird, I am thankful that she's there. I am thankful that she's speaking out, because her thought paths and what she's encouraging, what she's teaching, what she's advocating for is present and is happening right now. I would rather it be out in the daylight for everybody to see what is pushing a lot of educational systems these days. Because it's scary. It's weird. It's so backwards and regressive. I want more people to know that it's out there, and it's being put up as a good thing, as a standard by which people need to educate children. It's horrifying, but it's true. So, thank you, Chicago Mike. Is it me or watching a TEDx was described as the true definition of insanity? Only you can decide that for yourself. I'm just here to present you with what there is in the world. I didn't create it. I'm not particularly a fan of it, but it's there, and I will face down my fears like Mr. T taught me to on the Mr. T cartoon show so many years ago. Yeah, I pull my inspiration from some distant places, everyone. But with that, guys, we're going to call it here. What a journey. I wasn't sure where we were going. I'm not sure where we ended up, but somewhere in the middle, I at least got a laugh or two out of it. I hope you did too. If you'd like to hear more from me or Satsu 2 Cents, because Ranting Monkey tonight is actually visiting his grandchildren, so he won't be around. But if you'd like to hear more from me and Satsu, you can find the both of us tonight on Satsu 2 Cents' channel, because Monkey's out, at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for the Lords of the Night, where Satsu and I will talk about the news of the day, news stories that you submit, what we've been up to on the internet, and then your questions and comments. Everyone, again, for this momentous, after a long dry spell of bingos, occasion, thank you so much for your attendance. Thank you so very much for your participation. We would not have the bingos we do without it. Thank you, everyone who donated. Your generosity is ridiculously appreciated. I will spend it on terrible things to put in my body, like goldfish crackers and Jack Daniels, and also occasionally donate it to worthwhile charities. Everyone, I hope you have a good rest of your weekend. I hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.